Okay, all right, we're back. I'm not back because this is the first video that I do. All right, guys, what's going on? Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. Been on a hiatus since 2006 was my last YouTube video that I uploaded. So, yeah, really excited to get this channel off the ground. And I'm not a video guy, strictly photography. That's what this channel is for, guys, to share knowledge, tips, just all kinds of stuff that I can talk to and share with you guys, right? If you're local, if you're from somewhere else. And let's get to it. And I had several people message me about the style that I applied to them. It's nothing major, guys. Some cinematic styling, editing, color grading, basically an orange and teal look, which is what we're looking at here. So I decided to put a YouTube video together and just share the preset. The preset's going to be available down below for free, so you guys can go ahead and download it, use it, tag me on Instagram if you guys use it, and let's get started. I'm going to show you guys a few examples here from an Iceland trip. And this is Nocturnal 2 applied. There's also Nocturnal 1, which is another preset I have. And this is what it looks like when it's applied to some landscape shots from Iceland, anything from cityscapes also. And it works a lot better, I think, at when you're shooting outside, especially nighttime for night photography. You have a lot of tungsten lighting mixed with some fluorescent lighting. That's when it really shines. And let me show you a few more examples here. Just a few street shots that I took. It really gives it that cinematic look, especially using that Fuji camera. It brings in a lot of the blacks. Now, one thing that I do have to let you guys know is that I use the Fuji camera in this for these photos. So it is a Fuji camera profile, and that is the classic chrome profile that's only available through Fuji. And I mean, you might be able to, you know, mimic it somehow by editing in Lightroom or whatnot. But it does make a big difference if you use the classic chrome profile first and then apply the preset, because these are based off of the classic chrome preset. I did include a standard profile also for Canon users, Nikon users, and this is what some of these look like. Even on some of the toy photography that I do, it's been applied, and keeping that orange teal look, right? So these last three shots we're going to go over on the next video, which is it involves the Fuji XH1. So let's go back down to, let's see, let's pick this one here. This is one of my favorite shots, and let's start opening this guy up. So let's reset this. We're going to take it a step at a time, and we're going to go into develop module. We're going to click reset. I'm going to guide you guys through everything that I do, starting off with the data here on the top left. It was a Fuji file, like I said, and looks like I shot it at 1/640th of a second, f2, ISO 1600, with a 35mm f2 lens. I love that lens. It's real sharp, and it's good for street photography. So if you have a Fuji, check it out. And what we're going to do, there's nothing on the basics tab. We're going to go straight down to camera calibration, guys. And what we're seeing here, you see Adobe Standard. So we don't want Adobe Standard. And if you have Adobe Standard, that's okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to go down here, go to where it says camera. And if you have a Fuji, this is only available on Fuji profiles. You're going to click Classic Chrome. Boom. What that does, it changes out the tones, the blacks, brings in some rich blacks. It desaturates the color. And from here, we're still staying in that camera calibration tab. And what we're going to do is we are going to go down to our red primary and blue primary channels. These are the two that are going to change. So we're starting off on the left side here. We got something like a daylight color lighting there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start shifting those blues to the left. Right? I like to go at least 100% on my blues, but it depends. You can tweak these presets. I'm going to go over to the red primary, and we're going to move it to the left. So this looks really cool right here. I like that pink color, right? But I want more of an orangey for today, somewhere around there. So just kind of play with it, tweak it as you want. And again, that orange teal look, you see a lot in Blade Runner. I know Gotham, that Fox show has it. It's all over their episodes, so check that out. And I'm just going to increase the saturation here on the orange channel and on the blue channel too. Right there, guys. So we're going to close up that calibration tab. And the next thing we're going to do is we're working inside out. So we're working on the smallest details, better precise control, and then we're going to apply overall adjustments to finish off the photo. We're going to head over to hue, saturation, and luminance. And I like mine selected to all. You can select hue if you like, but I like to click all and have control of everything. And again, we're going to the hue tab, and all we're going to mess with here is our reds and oranges. So my orange channel, see, if you move it to the left, it turns more reddish, kind of pinkish. Now this is really cool because you guys can customize this however you like. I'm going to go a little bit towards the negative, not too much. And on my reds, I want to bring in that more fiery orange color, but not too yellow. You see that how it goes yellow if you go to the right? We're going to keep it somewhere -4. And my yellows, very few effect on the yellows here. Only this little light up here changes. If you look at that, it'll change very slightly. That's our tungsten light. So I'm going to just move this guy -5, and then I'm going to head over to my blues and start playing with the blues, right? So if you move the blue channel to the right, it looks more purplish. Now Nocturnal 1 preset does have more of a magenta purplish hue, and Nocturnal 2 has more of this cyan color, more teal look. So I'm not going to go all the way. I'll go about 80 there, 79. Then I'm going to come down to saturation, bump up the saturation on the aquas, on the blues just a little bit of that green, and on my orange channel too, just a slight bump. So I decide to saturate my colors individually instead of doing an overall saturation in the basics tab, only because I want to have complete control of what I'm doing, what I'm bringing the focus to, right? So I'm just going to do a quick before and after, see where we're at just by changing those sliders. And already, guys, you can see it's coming through. Now the foundation to using these presets is, nighttime photography, mixed lighting, guys. You have to have mixed lighting. You can do something like this during the day, and I'll show you an example towards the end where I have daylight through a window and I have a desk lamp that's tungsten, and it really adds to the preset. So we're going to go down to luminance. Now luminance, if you have some of these neon signs, you can definitely bump them up. So it'll make that channel a little bit brighter, a little bit darker. I don't really mess around with luminance too much, but use it in small amounts. You don't want to go overboard with it, right? So now that we've adjusted our color, we're going to do split toning, which is the third thing that I recommend you do. And again, we're keeping orange and teal. So our highlights are orange. And what I'm going to do is go to saturation, go all the way to 100. That way you guys can see what color you're using. Now that looks horrible right here, I know, but we're not going to leave it at 100. I'm just going to slide the hue to about, let's say, 30. All right, 31. I'm using the track pad here, and I'm going to come down to about 21, 25. Now, if you think when you apply the preset, Nocturnal 2, if you think it's too strong on the orange, come into split toning, and this is where you'll control the amount too. And then, of course, shadows, let's bump this up to 100. And we're going to start we're looking at this little tiny box over here, making sure that we want that teal look. So somewhere around, it's kind of aquish, somewhere around there. And let's go, I like to keep things even. So I did 28 on the highlights. I'll do 28 on the shadows. Now, I think that the shadows right now are too dominant. I don't want that blue too much. I'd rather have the orange color in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to balance and then just slide that sucker all the way to the right. And starts bringing out that orange color, and the blue just kind of fades away. And the purpose behind color grading teal and orange, guys, in movies is that the orange color picks up, the skin picks up the orange color, and then the blues stay in the shadows. So it's more appealing to the eye. The eye can focus on that better. So if you're watching a movie, you'll tend to look at the actor better than the background, right? So in this case, I want this to pop, and I don't want this so much to pop. So it's just giving it a little bit of love there. So that's our split toning tab. So we're going to head over to, we're going to do tone curves now. All right, so nothing on the basics tab yet. We are going to add some contrast still, and I like to do either a J curve or an S curve. Now I'm not in the selective curve, which is points. You can actually, use the sliders here. I don't know the proper word name for this, but I like to switch it to where I can actually plot my points, and you can do 1, 2, 3 or 2. I like to keep 2, maybe 3, but in this case, what I'll do is I'm going to click on the shadows and the blacks down here, and I'm just going to drag that down a tiny little bit, maybe more this way, just to really crush those blacks. And now I'm not a fan of fading my blacks too much like this. I see it a lot, and that's cool. Personally, I don't like it too much. I like more rich blacks, but I do an in-between, so I just very gently, just maybe somewhere there, just come up on it. And it's just to kind of lift it up, taking from that cinema aspect again. If you're watching a movie, you'll see how some of the blacks are lifted. And then I go to Basics tab. This is the last thing I do. At the Basics tab, I pretty much just bump up exposure a tiny little bit, maybe bring down those highlights, do a slight increase in shadow, bring the whites down. Now my blacks I don't move. Sometimes I like to bring them even further down. And now how I'm going to control the exposure here is I'm going to grab my brush, click new, and I'm going to come in here with a brush and just lightly brush right down the middle, guys, right where I want my attention to come to. And if you hit O on your keyboard, you'll see a mask, and it shows you pretty much where you've been working on, right? If you hit Alt or Option, you're able to erase. Here we go. O back out. And last but not least, what I like to do is grab the Radial tool, do new, and I'm going to go with darken here. So I'm going to dodge. Sorry, I'm going to burn right from the center. Click and drag. That's your mask right there. And probably open up the feather a little bit more. Right around there, guys. And let's see. Let's turn that sucker off. Here we go. Close it out. And that's it. That's everything in a nutshell, guys. Really simple, really easy. Again, like anything in photography, if you have the right amount of light, it's going to get you there fast. Presets aren't a one button fix it all. But it gets you there faster. So one tip I want to point out is we didn't adjust the temperature. This is as shot, right? So what I want to do is once you start changing those camera calibration sliders and hue saturation sliders, look at how strong the temperature shifts. Once you start increasing and decreasing, you start coming back down here, you start getting that cyan, deep blues, and then you start coming back up, you get those oranges. I mean, it's just awesome. I mean, you can just, no saturation at all. It's just coming with the temperature slider, and I like that right there. So I'm going to leave it at 3322, and I might just bump up the exposure a tiny bit. Now the last thing I do, guys, I might add some noise. Sometimes I don't. But what I do is I go into my crop tool, go into 16:9, and work this guy up and down. So I like to do the I like to have some foreground in my photos. So I'm keeping this in here. That's a garage door. I'm keeping this in there, and I have a foreground. There's your middle ground and your background. So those are three elements that consist, that make your photo look a lot more cinematic. Instead of it being one-dimensional where it's just a person standing against the wall, maybe try to shoot through something. You know, you're using that foreground. In this case, it's that garage door. You have a middle ground. You see this layer right here, and then the background is this back here. And you can apply that to anything you do in any type of photography, and it'll look completely just way better than if you just say, hey, you know what, I'm going to shoot this facade, this building, and that's it. So there you have it, guys. That's that one. And I'm going to quickly do a before. There's an after right there. Big difference, guys. Big difference. I have a few other ones here that I've worked on, and I'm going to give you a quick example as to how the nocturnal presets work. So I'm just going to reset this guy. Now, the nocturnal presets do not have an automatic crop, so you have to go in there and crop yourself. So I'm going to hit Nocturnal 1 and then Nocturnal 2. So Nocturnal 2 really has that cyan in there, that teal look, right? And from here, you start adjusting. You start those same sliders we went over. That's exactly what you start moving around. This is a good example of Nocturnal 1 and what it does. Now it's got more of a purplish tone in there, so if you see any of these fluorescent lights out and about in the city, you can definitely use Nocturnal 1 for that, especially purples and pinks. That's what it's meant to highlight. And Nocturnal 2 is meant to highlight more of the orange and teal. All right, guys, that's it. Next video coming up, we're going to talk about the Fuji X-H1 and some of these shots that I took. And this is another example of Nocturnal 2 just applied to it, one click on this in this case. And I'll cover it really quickly here. You have your daylight coming in through the window. This table lamp is your tungsten light. So if I reset, I'm going to go in here, Nocturnal 2, bam, nice and easy. All you got to do is crop it out. So play around with that, guys, and stay tuned for the second video. Like the video below, subscribe, comment, and if you have any questions, let me know. Tag me on Instagram. That's it.